like it. Gotta relax.
This is Earth Radio. And now here's human music.
Human music. I like it. I like it. Gotta relax.
This is Earth Radio. And now here's human music.
Human music. I like it. I like it.
Hello, ladies and that was a good start. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are we all doing? Clearly, I'm dying.
You're a lot better than you have been.
I'm a lot better than I have been. I did notice that I was a little worse this morning, and I have a feeling it's from all the talking from last night's stream. So, we're streaming again, because apparently that's a thing.
We do a low talk stream.
Yeah, it probably will be a low talk stream, we'll see how we go. So if I suddenly go silent and and or cough a lot, that'll be why. Oh, apparently we're dropping frames. Quite a few dropping frames. I don't know what that's about, but if anybody watching the stream notices that it's particularly bad, do let us know, and we'll do what we can to fix it. Anyway, we are doing our usual stream raidery do stuff. So where is our apologies. Stream readers. There you go. Come and join the army. Join us as we do battle. There's a new sort of Christmassy themed game, so we're gonna play through that. Yeah, just come and chill, come and vibe, come and have fun. Is that music a little loud? Probably. There we go. That's a little better. Oh! Hope everybody's having a good day. My day's been a little chaotic, but not bad. Had a good time. And it's the solstice, it's Letha today, which is exciting. For us down in the southern hemisphere, it is the summer solstice. For you up in the northern hemisphere, it is the winter solstice. So, happy Letha or happy Yule, depending on where you are. We are going to be doing some Sassy Christmas cards. We're going to try and get some more of them finished off today. I was away for 2 weeks because of a whole bunch of things, but COVID mainly. And so because of that, I didn't get the sort of... I had two art streams that I was supposed to get these stuff done in, and I didn't. And I was dying way too much to actually do anything. So unfortunately, none of the cards are finished. So what that means, rather than selling them to you guys, I'm just going to give them away for free. You do not have a lot of time to get them printed out, so you're going to have to either print them from your own computer, or rush to you know, an Officeworksy type thing, or a, you know, whatever it is in your place, to get them done. But I'm just going to post them online, and you can download them for free. Next year, we will have them done ahead of time, so that I can actually make a little bit of money off them.
You say this every time there's a holiday.
I say this every single time, but this year, coming up, I'm actually planning on doing it. So the idea is I'm going to try and get them done like 2 or 3 months beforehand, rather than the month of trying to get them done during that period of time. So we're gonna pre-prep some things. So look forward to that in future streams, and just as a thing. I've also been doing a lot of Christmas presents as art this past couple of weeks, so I've been busy anyway with other shit.
You've been dying.
And I've been dying, as you can tell. All the smoke inhalation from today probably didn't help. So here is another fun thing that we could potentially do. This is a little merch design that we're playing around with. So we might do a little bit of that as well. But mainly we're going to be doing these Christmas cards. We started one... where is it? We started this one which was our first design. It's almost finished. There's a couple of things that I want to sort of fix up on it, but I quite like where it's at. That's pretty good. And then we have the true reason for the season down the bottom. So that's the first one pretty much done. The second one here, we were doing on a previous stream, a controversial stream, which is up on YouTube currently if you would like to watch it. We were talking about morality and ethics and all that kind of stuff. Which I thought was very fitting for the artwork we were doing at the time, because boy is it sassy. But yeah, we're probably gonna finish this one off first today, and then once we've done that, we're gonna move on to probably Merry Happy Time of Year, which I really like the design of this one. I don't know that I'm gonna change it too much. I'm just gonna sort of clean up areas. I even like the kind of like crappily written thing, and like it works. It works for what it is. And then we're gonna do a Festivus. Which is a lovely dumpster with a raccoon. So we'll finish that one off. And then we'll see how we are at that point. I might be dying too much and have to finish the stream. Or, alternatively, maybe the stream will just crap out, because Kim seems to be dropping frames a lot. But we'll see how we go. I'd like to stream for a little bit longer, because it's been a while since I've actually managed to do an art stream. But we'll see. I don't want to push myself too hard, because I'm dying still. Join us for the stream raidery do stuff, and we'll get to colouring this shit in now. I am drinking cakes and ale because we ritualed before. So I'm currently eating honey cake, which is also technically half of my dinner. But yeah, so honey cake for Letha. Look it up online as a recipe. There's a lot of recipes out there, but if you look up honey cake recipes, there's some pretty good ones out there. That's what I have. We have it every high day. We do it every time we ritual, but yeah, I make a good honey cake apparently.
You do. It's delicious.
This one's a particularly good one. I used extra butter and extra honey, and it's really paid off. All right, let's see where we're at. Some of this is going to have to be cleaned up, I think. I do like it. I do like where we're at with this piece. But yeah, there's some bits in here that could probably be done a little better. Well, that's right. They're going to be free Christmas cards, so what do you care? We do have the Sassy Rant redemption. If anybody wants to click on that, just fair warning, if you watched yesterday's stream, the vast majority of the rant was in yesterday's stream, so
Same rant?
so it'll be the same rant. I can come up with a new rant if you like, but the rant I had prepared for today's stream, and technically yesterday's stream was sort of posed as a philosophical question by Cog, because he was curious as to what my response was. I think we reasoned it out pretty well. Oh, apologies. Dying. So yeah, if anybody missed that, it is in the VOD. You can go and watch it if you like. But basically, we were discussing AI generated art and what my views on it were, and whether or not I thought it was living up to the hype. What its ethical implications were, and whether or not I would use it, was basically the question that was posed. which is basically exactly what the topic of my rant was going to be: the ethical implications of AI-generated art, and a rebuttal, more or less, of the current criticism of artists and their issues with AI art, because they have been quite vocal in the art industry about AI art, and reasonably so, I would say. But it has basically led to a lot of backlash from people who are like, you know, shouldn't have the right to be this annoyed about it, and blah 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 blah. So yeah, that's the thing. If you wanna press the rant button, I'll launch into that. But otherwise, we'll try and avoid it, because it's not a chill subject. It requires a lot of explanation and ranting. So. We are excited for the holiday season. All the fun that's coming up. If you're doing anything interesting or fun, do let us know in the chat or on the Discord, in the doobly-doos. Down below, there's a suggestion box, but you can chuck whatever you like in there. You know, as long as it's appropriate. Do have to cut that off on the pass just a little bit, unfortunately. Because I know the people who watch my channel. This is entirely the wrong music for... There you go, it's a little bit more vibey. Sorry if I'm seeming very low energy today. I'm just quite tired. Yeah, so exciting things. We're going to be heading down to Sydney for Christmas. Hanging out with the family, which will be nice. The various families.
Yeah, lots of families.
Lots of families.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I think it's so fucking boring. A lot of us know you've really, really done a lot of that big before. I'm alright with it. More secure.
It wasn't supposed to be that glued down.
No, it's alright.
there was probably more glue in there than I thought there was, and then when I clamped it down, it probably spread. So.
Yeah, that's fair.
So all of our Christmas presents have now arrived as well. I'm probably one of the few people who purchased their own merch as a Christmas present.
For yourself.
For myself.
From your daughter.
From my daughter to myself.
Who is a dog.
Who is a dog. But it's looking really good. I'm really enjoying it. And if you would like to purchase my merch, you should go and check out my merch store. There is my merch store. Very exciting. They turned out really, really well. I'm super happy with them. So if you were considering buying some and you weren't sure like how the quality would be or things, yeah, this is a plug to say, yeah, it's worth it. Definitely get it. I'm not just saying that because I want money. Legitimately, if they had turned up and they were not good, I would be swapping to a different provider, or I would be remaking them. The ones from Streamlabs were pretty good. I was definitely happy with them. Some of the qualities of the prints weren't like the best, but for how much they cost, and for the customization available, it was pretty good. I was very happy with everything. And then the stuff from Redbubble is higher quality printing. It's much better. The customization options aren't as good, so some of the things are placed in a way that I potentially wouldn't have placed them that way. But they're not at all bad. Definitely comes out well, and everything sort of looks and feels right. So that's super exciting. So I bought a bunch of that for myself. I bought a bunch for Lizzie Bell, which is cool. So you'll probably see some of that on the stream as I'll be wearing my own merch, as I often do. And we might try and get a couple people to try them on and model them out and take some photos so that you can see what they look like in the flesh as well. But we'll see how we go with that. I don't want to just, ask friends to put them on and then not compensate them or anything. So we'll have to see how we're going to go about that. Other things. What other things are happening? I've been getting into EVE Online. So anybody who knows what that is, will know that I'm about to waste quite a lot of my life. Not really, but like, it is one of those. It's a like World of Warcraft-esque, spend too much of your life on a thing that like doesn't actually matter, other than like that it provides you enjoyment. So that's the thing I'm going to be doing for a bit, until I get bored of it. But yeah, that's some fun at the moment. And another Christmas present that I got for myself that's also technically for work, so it's like joint Christmas and birthday present, and then it's going to be a bit of a tax write-off. But I got myself Lizzie Bell, along with Tia and me, got myself a tablet, a new funky tablet. A Surface Pro, actually, is what it is. So that's exciting. So we're gonna try and do some like Christmassy style streams, like over the Christmas period, where we're not gonna be here, we're not gonna be available, I'm not gonna be at my computer, and we won't be in Blaney. We'll be out and about. And so I'm gonna need to apologies. So I'm gonna need to basically have a platform on which to stream whilst away. So we're gonna try out the Surface Pro and see if it will handle doing some streaming. I'm gonna load up Critter on it, so we're gonna be doing art streams like this. And I don't know if I'll have my webcam or not for it. I'll probably... It's only got a couple of USB ports, so I'll probably prioritize having like the microphone locked in for it and that kind of stuff. So that will be a thing that we're going to try and do, which will be exciting. So if you're keen for some content over Christmas, I will be trying to facilitate that a little bit. Does that translate? It does. Cool. It's a little dark. There we go. That's... Ooh. What was that? This tablet's been a bit finicky lately. So if streaming from my new tablet, the Surface Pro, turns out to be a good, better option, we might just do that in future rather than trying to fuss with this, because I've got a shitty Wacom. It's actually Lizzie Bell's. I have one pretty much exactly like it, and then I have a slightly better version that I have somewhere. I don't remember where I put it. I probably should find it. It is definitely somewhere. So we'll probably have a look for that eventually. But it's essentially just the newer version of what this is. And this is kind of struggling on occasion. But if we can get a newer, better thing running, then we'll definitely do that. Now here's the question. Do we make the cash in the back Australian or American?
Australian.
I'm thinking Australian. So now I need to look up what Australian hundreds and 50s look like. So I know the hundreds are like green with a little bit of something. I think it's like orange or yellow, and then the 50s are yellow with bits of orange in them. Here we go. Nope, that's not what I want. I just want a picture of all of them together. There we go. That's it. All right, so we've got for those who don't know what Australian money looks like. Here you go. It's fucking Monopoly play money. We've got the gay money. It's all colourful and rainbow, which I like, really. It's entertaining, and the fact that they're so different means you can never get them confused. You're never going to accidentally give someone a 50 instead of a 5. It would never happen. In Australia. But in America, kind of shit happens all the time. Because all your money looks exactly the fucking same. Alright. So that's what we're going for. So it's kind of this pale green, really. A bit more on the yellow end. A little bit more blue than that. And quite washed out. There we go. That's pretty close. Yeah. So what we're going to do in this is probably like swap back and forth. Another thing as well, if anybody's particularly keen for the idea, so we'll only be doing it if anybody is particularly keen for the idea, because otherwise I'm just gonna, enjoy my own birthday. But we're gonna be out drinking in the city, and if you've got nothing to do and you're on Twitch on New Year's Eve, which commiserations. But yeah, if anybody particularly wants to see it, we'll stream from the bar. Yeah, we'd be allowed to as long as we're not filming other people. They like us at the bar anyway. It'll be fun. What could possibly go wrong? Something, 5 seconds later, getting kicked out of the bar on my birthday. But yeah, if anybody is particularly interested in something like that, let me know, and we can try and organize it. I'm not going to go out of my way to do it if no one's particularly asking for it. Mainly because it's my birthday and I should be able to enjoy it. But part of our orphan policy is that if people have nothing to do or are on their own on special days, we try and go out of our way to make sure that that they are at least given the opportunity to join in. So if that's you, that sounds like you, let us know, and we'll do a stream special for you. Otherwise, we're just gonna have some fun, get drunk, as we usually do. I think that is the yellow. That is the yellow. See, it is just like fucking Monopoly play money. Love it. Trying to think what would be a better form of money that I've personally interacted with, and I honestly can't think of anything in particular that would be like on par with Australia in terms of like fun. The only other one would be like maybe Icelandic krona, just because it's interesting, and then it makes you feel like you've got fuck tons of money on you because everything's like high values, even though like basically the exchange rate is like I think it's 100 krona. I'm gonna mess this up. 100 krona is $1, Australian dollar, or something. Anyway, basically, it makes you feel like you have a lot more because you're giving out like thousands of krona at a time, on things that are like, you know, actually, you know, $10 or $100 or whatever. Similar with Japan. Japan's similar in that sense, and some parts of Asia. Other parts of Asia, because Japan's in Asia, obviously, but like Thai baht or whatever. Just because in Australia we do dollars and cents, and so you know it never feels like you've got a lot of money. Also, everything's expensive in Australia. Is the other issue. Which is also actually a problem in Iceland. If you do the exchange rate, things are actually probably more expensive in Iceland than they are in Australia. Not by a whole lot, but by enough that it's noticeable. But stuff's pretty expensive in Australia. Australia is not a cheap place to live, unfortunately. We do pretty well in terms of like our poverty's not too bad. We have pretty good social safety nets, and our unions, our trade unions are pretty good, so we get paid fairly decently. So you know, people who are poor or feel poor tend not to be for too long if they can put the effort into working, or have the ability to do so. Not everybody has the ability to do so, but that's another thing. Another thing again. So our stream raiders battle. I think only one other person came to join us, so let's. Sorry, I'm busy. No, it's fine. Hey, do. Oh, I wasn't even looking at the chat. Cog in there. I knew it was coming. Todd the Necromancer in a brawler's fighting pose. Okay, we can do that.
Is that an art request?
Yeah.
You've got so much to do. Cog, what the fuck?
I do have so much to do.
You've got so much to do.
But he's gonna make me do it. It'll just be a quick one. Anyway, we're enjoying our little fight first. should have it on this screen, shouldn't I? There we go, that makes more sense. Hey, very good. Make sure that everybody gets an equal share. And we're going to continue on with our fight, with our battle. If we go down here, things get pretty hairy pretty quick. So let's stay in the middle. We'll do easy fights to begin with because we don't have a whole lot of people joining. I'm going to use an archer up here. There we go. When everybody's ready, just chuck guys in. I'm not super fussed about it.
New fight?
It's a new fight.
Well, what will do the thing?
Oh, you don't have to do the thing. You can do whatever you like.
Do the thing. I want to do the thing. Very close Sims.
Alright. Todd the dude bro. In a fighting style. So we're gonna do like that.
Is Todd one of the DeHussy family?
Todd DeHussy?
Just like Kyle DeHussy. Why you picked Kyle for the name?
Yeah. Alright. I think this is coming together quite nicely. Alright, let's go in and refine our image now. Oh, he should have a popped collar, actually. That's what he needs. If you too would like to see one of your ridiculous ideas turned into an artwork, there is a redemption for that. Or you can commission me. I do take commissions. My commissions are currently open. It will take a little bit of time for me to get around to doing it, just because I'm going to have to do it after the Christmas period. But yeah, if you want to see anything in particular, feel free to do so. Socially Awkward Wizard, you want to offer me a promotion for my channel viewers chatbots? The price is lower than any competitor. You are the best guaranteed. Auto on, incredibly flexible and convenient. Order management, blah 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 blah. Suspicious user, ban evasion, and monitoring accounts. Well. Begone, bot. So his fighting style is going to be called Way of the Energy Drink. He's gonna chug down on that and then go to town. For anybody who doesn't know what we're doing, Todd is a Reaper in our D&D campaign. He's a member of an institution which monitors and controls the passage of souls after they have passed on, and ensures that that those who are evading the passing on via necromantic means or otherwise get their comeuppance, basically. And as he was described in our campaign, he is a dude bro, a Hawaiian shirt wearing, just Valley Boy-esque.
Taking advantage of the fact that Coke's not on stream.
I might be.
I approve.
So yeah, he's definitely exactly as I'm describing him, and not intended to be any different from that. So yeah, that's Todd. This is him here in a fighting stance, in his sandals, ready to throw down. I've gone for a like a Johnny Bravo-esque pompadour coif. You went AFK, but you're very happy that this is what you returned to? Yeah. So this is Todd in all his glory. At least give him a little flat cap. He can't have a flat cap. Look, he's got a huge pompadour. I at least gave him a six-pack. He's at least ripped. He wears it at the back like a yarmulke. Okay, I can allow that. Only because of how ridiculous it is. Have you been enjoying the Solstice, buddy? There's his little flat cap in the back there. And then just glorious pompadour at the front here. Da 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 da. You haven't done your spiritual thing yet, but you spent time with a very good friend. Oh, that's good. Putting off chores. Fair enough. Yeah, I put off a lot of my chores to do. Todd is an anime dude, bro. Yeah. Pretty much. I need to fix his energy drink can here. Hands are always so difficult. It's no wonder AI artists can't fucking get it right. If regular artists can't get it right, why the fuck would an AI system be able to get it right? He's a skeleton. Can he even drink energy drinks? Yes, he can. Because he's actually an energy drink bender. That's his whole thing now. He's actually he's actually a bender. You need to redo his character sheet. No, you don't. Since it broke and we lost it. No, you don't need to redo anything. Fine as he is. Just lean into the car crash. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to. You can keep asserting things that are incorrect about Todd, but we'll keep reminding you that this is who he truly is, deep down. Deep inside, we'll know. Disappeared. Collaborative storytelling. To a degree. And then obviously he needs to have like a gold chain with a cross on it. Because he might be a dude, bro, but he loves Jesus, man. Yeah, sure. We collectively made a choice. Yeah, but we're allowed to be wrong. We're gonna keep asserting that we're correct, but like we can be wrong. It is a little railroady to say no, this is what the character is, but like you designed the character a particular way, you made it a particular way. We would be annoyed if if you'd like, or anybody in the group tried to like rewrite our characters. So, it's only fair that you push back. You kind of like it? Okay, fair enough. If you enjoy it, then, you know, go for your life. Oh, hands, why? Why must hands be so difficult? Not the flip-flops? No, that's an integral part of the character, man. You can crop those out. It's an important part of his character development, come on. Jeez, Cog. He had to work hard to earn his flip-flops, alright? They don't just give any Reaper a flip-flop. Can I upload him once he's finished? Yeah, I can do that. I'll have to wait until after the stream, but yeah, I could chuck him into Roll20. Alright, it's looking pretty good. Hey, there are some awesome artists on Twitch if you would like to follow any of them. If you are enjoying my art, why not go and give them some love as well? There's plenty of awesome artists on Twitch. There's plenty of awesome things you can see. And there is our Discord, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to go and check that out. We do Friday night chats and drinks. We usually do things for the high days and things for spirituality if you're into that kind of thing. We also just do general hangouts and shit talks. We play games together, so if any of that is your jam, feel free to check it out. There's my merch store. Merch store, very important. Like I said before, some of my merch has turned up. I got it specifically for me and Lizzie Bell for Christmas. I'm a jam. Damn right I am. I'm a jammy dodger. I had a full pack of jammy dodgers to myself this week. Oh, it was so good. And then Lizzie Bell caught me and told me off. Not actually, she just questioned whether or not I'd eaten them all by myself and not given her any. And I said yes. Because we don't lie to each other. Now I really want to see someone get a Todd the Dude Bro tattoo. Just because I think it would be ridiculous. I've been trying to catch up with Critical Role and realizing just how behind I am. Given that the new series is well and truly underway. And continuing to get further and further away from me. And I've still got like 40 episodes to go from season 2. I'm glad I finished season 1 when I did, because oh boy, catching up on all of that is almost insurmountable. There is so much content at this point that unless you really, really put the effort and time into it, you're never really going to finish it. So I'm glad I managed to find and catch it when I did. Yeah, a lot of catching up to do. So I've been listening to that when I've been driving and doing cleaning and making art. Oh, my love.
Oh, my love. Sorry?
I said, oh, my love.
Yeah. Eat your love. Still doing Todd the Dude Bro?
Yeah.
That very much is what I imagined Todd the Dude Bro to look like.
I'm glad we're in agreement.
We usually are.
We are.
I'm leaving the burnings in the other room.
Okay, I'll keep half an eye.
Do not let them burn the house down.
I'll do my best.
Thank you, I appreciate it. You do have to live here.
I do have to live here as well. We've got 2 minutes until the next raid battle starts. Oh, very nice.
It's a gift.
What a lovely gift.
My resident. Beautiful one. The only one I know making gifts that are crafty.
Checks out.
Yeah, I love so.
Oh, I love so.
Did I miss the raid battle? Or was it not happened yet?
No, not yet. 1 minute left.
Cool, good timing.
All right, let's quickly color this in, and then we'll get back to actually doing the work we're supposed to be doing. $30 seconds to get your units in. Although by the time you get around to it, we'll probably actually have already started the battle, so Do what you can, I guess. I'm gonna go with this sort of orangey, almost fake tan look.
Sounds like what to do.
Because that sounds perfect to me.
Yep.
Alright, ready to battle. Hey, we've got a few more people this time, which is exciting. Alright, let's do it. Let the battle begin! He's meant to have waxy skin. Yeah, fake tan waxy skin.
Orange, but like waxy.
Yeah, orange but waxy.
Like really bad Madame Tussauds.
Hey, we absolutely killed that one. Hey, Lizzie Bell, congratulations on winning some Warrior Scrolls.
Yeah.
Got me some Rouge Scrolls there. And let's move on to the next one. So if we go... Let's go down this way. We've got a few more people joining in now, so we can probably manage the slightly stronger battles. I suppose you did use the term fake when describing his skin. Yeah, exactly. We'll start over here, I reckon. So jump in and place your units when you can and when you're ready. We'll continue bringing the dude bro to life. Or undeath, I guess. Technically. Yeah, the blue one is hers. Oh, very good. Ectoplasm bender. Is that what the kids are calling it these days, eh? Ectoplasm. No, clearly he's a energy drink bender. Sits there with his can of Monster energy drink. Goes a full Kyle. Drinks it, starts punching holes in the drywall. Ecto Power, the energy drink more Reapers use. Ectoplasm is energy. Fair. Guess that makes sense. Residual energy in physical form. Sandy blonde hair. You like that it's vaguely shaped like a sickle? Yeah, that was entirely accidental. That's definitely not on purpose. Works though, yeah. A little bit. Now we just need to put in like a little hammer in there as well, and he can be the Californian dude bro communist. What are Jesus crosses in our D&D canon? They're the crosses of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Don't you try and minimize this. He is who he is. You can't stop him. This is ridiculous. Yeah, it is. But you're the one who wanted it. You specifically asked for this, Cog. I can't help that this is what you wanted. You didn't in the beginning. You didn't not in the beginning, so you did. I'm glad you finally come to terms with it, Cog. I don't know what you mean, Lizzie-Belle.
No one else heard that accusation.
So we're gonna do a an orange. Actually, no, it should be like light blue, shouldn't it? There we go. Yeah, that's it. Maybe a little lighter than that. Light blue, and then we're gonna put like a pineapple pattern on it. So,
these straws, I've just opened a new packet of silicone straws because they're cocktail size ones. They're adorable, and I'm having a mocktail.
Oh, very good.
And they have the color code for the straw written on the inside. And I picked this lovely, pretty purple because, of course, I did. Do you know what the color code for this purple is? Is
it lavender, Melissa?
Color code is in a number. It's the Pantone. It's the Pantone code.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to know what the code is?
What's the code?
666.
Hey, hey. Is Irish just shouldn't it be sweet potatoes? That's the Dupro version of an Irishman, right? No, he's a Californian. He's Californian.
potatoes aren't Irish.
Sweet potatoes are not Irish.
No.
And he's going to have matching sandals as well. The same light blue. Guess that makes sense to me.
Colour blocking. Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, this is, you know, basic character design, so makes sense. Keep it simple. Potatoes weren't originally Irish either. The Irish did grow sweet potatoes as well as normal potatoes for a fair long time, though.
Fair enough. I'm not Irish, so...
I don't think sweet potatoes were a particularly Irish staple. Well, my potatoes definitely are. Alright, let's draw some nice little pineapples. We're going to do them on a new layer. Just so that we can make them look perfect. They grew a bunch of different easy to grow starchy vegetables, yeah. So I knew they did like turnips and parsnips and like those sorts of easy to grow starchy things. I didn't know that they did sweet potatoes because I've never, like, having been back to country, sweet potatoes were not something that was readily available or talked about all that often. Regular potatoes, fuck yeah they were. Parsnips and turnips, absolutely. But I didn't really see a whole lot of sweet potato back in the home country. Before you and your ilk came along and plagued them. Hey, we only plagued the actual potatoes. Don't you mention the potato famine. Ya bastard. You and your lot. There we go. I think we've done a pretty good job of this pineapple.
It's a cute pineapple.
It is a pretty cute pineapple.
I'd have that on a pineapple shirt.
Yeah.
Maybe you need pineapple mark. Maybe you need Todd Bro mark.
Maybe I do need Todd the Dude Bro mark.
Maybe Cog needs Todd the Dude Bro mark.
Yeah.
It's his invention after all. Why he wanted a Dude Bro, I don't know.
That's so Henrold.
It says, yeah. I have a question.
Yeah.
I want to light that candle in the bedroom, but I'm worried that it might be a bit too scenty for the puppies. Do you think it'd be okay if I leave the door open and have the fan running? The little one over there in the glass jar. I'll leave it behind the telly.
Yeah, as long as you have the fan going, it should be fine. If they don't like it, they'll move.
Okay. I don't want to cause harm to these puppies. They're très important.
Très important.
Très important.
Très important.
I love the pineapples. Huge fan.
Yeah.
This is exactly what Todd Dubra looks like. This is now canon.
Yeah, it is.
Update all of his art. You have the ability
Yeah.
to. Very good. Update all of his art.
It's alright. Clint already gave it the go ahead, so.
Oh, good. I haven't been here.
Subtle COVID cough laugh. It's not subtle. I'm dying.
Only temporarily.
Only temporarily. Although the fact that it's lingering is
We had Christmas carols at work today, and I had to like
Frustrating.
not sing because I knew that it'd start me a coughing fit, and I shouldn't be coughing fitting in a nursing home.
yeah. Alright. Oh, that's too funny.
Perfect. This is Dude Bro. This is Todd.
Oh, this is Todd. A Todd is born. I'm a little sorry, but not
Shouldn't
really.
be.
We're all bad people? Yeah, pretty much. Funny though.
Say that as if you're not part of this. The bad peopleness, not necessarily Todd Dude Bro.
Let's compare his original art. Alright, I'll get a picture of his original art in the second then. And people can see what he originally was supposed to look like.
And how much of an improvement.
And how much of an improvement this is. Because we all know it is. Hey, self-care. Alright, let's find a picture of Todd the Dude Bro. Yeah, I'm just getting it up now. There's no artist signature on it, so you don't know who the OG artist is. Yeah. Which is a shame, but gotta do what we gotta do. Alright, here it is for everybody who is interested. That's what the original artwork looked like for him. People know this is from 21 Jump Street, is it? Or is this 22 Jump Street? I think this is the second one.
I didn't even know there was a second one.
Yeah, I believe this is the second one.
I've seen either of the movies.
And so that was the inspiration. That's what's originally on the character sheet. So, you know, pretty close. Not pineapples. Instead, there's this kind of like, I guess there's a pineapple here on the left-hand side, but it's a lot of like leaf patterns and things like that. Oh, love you, buddy. All right, let's actually look at the Roll20. So this was the original image here.
Not nearly as good.
Not nearly as good. But that's Todd the Reaper. Theodore Dunn.
But unfortunately, Cog named him Todd.
Yeah. Clint named him Todd. Cognitive Cod. Todd. Cod.
Had he decided to nickname him Teddy instead of Todd, we would have had an entirely different aesthetic for him.
Yeah.
But we picked Todd. And by we, I mean he. They. Not us.
Not I. Alright, there you go. there is Todd, the dude bro. So let's save this.
Cognitive dude.
Toddnative.
Dude.
Toddnative dude.
Magic.
Where does it get the cans from in the fantasy realm? Yeah, magic. Because clearly he's a magic man.
He came to our reality once by mistake and clearly couldn't let go.
Oh, we're bad people. But it's funny. So these cards, Christmas cards, will be available shortly. I'll be putting them on the Patreon, just as a like for free for everyone thing. I'll also chuck them in the Discord, and you'll be able to download them and go and print them out. Give them to your friends and family if you so wish.
This card expired in 2011.
Hmm?
Something 11.
Yep. Now, Australian mayonnaise. There's a bit of orange in the middle there. Yes. So let's put a little bit of splash of orange in the middle. I think it's actually the same for the hundreds as well, is it not? It is. Orange and a bit of yellow, and and it's the inverse for the 50. Orange with a little bit of green. So that's fine. We can basically just leave that there, and then put a little bit of a splash of green in the middle here. And I honestly can't be bothered putting in the numbers for the mayonnaise. Oh, should I? I can't be bothered drawing all the rest of it. Where is it on the 50?
You certainly don't have to.
Put it on the top, I guess. Put it on the top, and then it's behind here, and I don't have to worry about it. And then on this one, I can just put the 100 in this one, which I will do. Yeah, fuck it, why not? just to hammer it home. And then I won't bother putting in the pictures of the people. I think I'll leave it at that. But that looks pretty good. We're happy with that. We'll clean this up a little. I think it's probably fine, seeing as no one's going to be paying for these anyway. They don't have to be perfect. Just have to be good enough. Good enough to annoy your family with. Because really, that's all of that these cards are good for. Just pissing people off. Oh, the battle is about to begin, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, and a stretch, and a hydrate. We're using our special, our special water.
I'm gonna hydrate with my mocktail.
Oh, mocktail.
Like our ritual ale. Yeah.
Full stretch. Here does say steady Y.
Actually, she said what?
Yeah.
Are we stream raiding or are you just continuing?
Oh, stream raidering. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm dying a little.
I know.
It's only 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm about to go to bed anyway.
Alright, we're going to rush through the last two artworks and see if I can get them done before the end of the stream. Ugh. And then I've got two more artworks to go, I think. Before I've done all of my Christmas presents. Got some rouge scrolls there, let's keep going. There's now a very hard battle. Let's chuck everybody up the top here. Vibe in this area. Alright. Now, our raccoon. Grey, brown, a little bit of black, and white. Cool. We can do that. Hey, Yoda, how you doing? We are going well. We are doing some art, some Festivus art. How are you on this fine solstice? Hope you're doing well. Alright, this is coming together nicely. Oop, wrong layer. Oh yeah, the solstice. Where are you located in the world? Are you summer solstice or winter solstice? What end of the spectrum are you at currently? You're good. Glad to hear it. That's what we like to hear. Oh, thanks Lizzie Bell for the gift sub to Yoda. Much appreciated.
I mean, how many opportunities do I have to buy something for Yoda?
That's it. You get between 1 and 4 of these cute little jugs in your house at every given night. Very good. So I'm assuming you're from America then. Yeah, near Seattle. Okay, cool. Yeah, we know a couple of people from Seattle. Yeah, so Fiona lived there for a bit. Fiona and Steve, and then a couple of the Americans that I went to Burning Man with were originally from Seattle.
Cool.
Yeah. You have a cat door and you live against a forest. Yep, that'll do it. Never be able to get rid of them. Yeah, I can't decide whether or not the possums that we have would be worse than raccoons. Because I know raccoons can be a bit, like, get into things and cause trouble, whereas the possums we have just kind of screech at you all night. Which, I guess is better? Question mark? We also have bins that are, like, a little bit harder to get into. I am currently drawing one right now. From my understanding of American-style bins, they're a little bit easier for the animals to get into, and therefore they get into them more often. But I don't know how much of that is just pop culture and not actually the truth, so I guess I should probably not state that without knowing for sure. Oh, I am still dying. Had the spicy cough, and it is lingering. This stream is sponsored by Lizzie Bell. She's definitely human.
I am. also going to bed.
That's fair. You go to bed.
Bon nuit.
Bon nuit, my love.
Maybe there's an N in there, right? Like a nuit. It's not just bon.
Bon nuit.
Nog.
Self-care, everybody. Make sure you are having enough to eat and drink. Make sure you take a rest if you need to. Stream's not going anywhere. I mean, it will be eventually. We'll be going to bed, but for now, stream ain't going anywhere, so look after yourself. You are more important than the streaming. There is my merch store, ladies and gentlemen. Go and check it out. If you like my art, if you like the cool, funky stuff that we create, there is lots more fun art there. Some of it wearable, some of it not. Yeah, go and check it out. Lots of cool things to see. We got a bunch for Christmas for ourselves, me and Lizzie Bell. Mech. So there's going to be a bit more of it shown on the stream, which will be exciting. You're going to go and do all the readings?
No, I'm just going to do like a couple.
For those who couldn't see that, because no one can see that except for me, Lizzie Bell just started walking to the bedroom with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? 5. 5.
3 decks in here.
So it is 6. 6 different decks of tarot and oracle cards.
They're all oracle cards except for one.
Yeah. One of them is the one I made you?
Yeah, it's in the brown box.
Yeah. And then the rest of them are our various different collected
Mine.
ones.
Just mine.
Just yours,
not
because
yours.
I've got my full sets. Because it is the solstice, we are doing our readings for the year. Well, for the season at least. But you needed a call out. As we all oft do. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Let's clean up the line art. And then we'll move on to our last design. Anybody who's keen to have some Christmas cards made with these designs, I will be putting them on the Discord. I'll be putting them on my Patreon. I'll probably chuck them in the Ko-fi as well. So if you're on any of those channels, if you're part of any of those socials, go and check them out. And you can print out your own cards. I was originally going to sell these for very cheap. Basically, you know, you pay what you think they're worth, kind of system. But unfortunately, because of the spicy cough, I was unable to get them done in time. So luckily for you guys, that means that that I'm just going to give them away for free. Because I'd rather people have them and use them and enjoy them than me sort of hoard them until next year. And I'll just make some new designs for next year, which will be good and fun. So if you're in the market for some sassy Christmas cards, for some just solid sass, if you want to piss off your family members or a work colleague, or if you know someone who has that particular kind of humor, this will probably be pretty good for them. So we're going to get those done as quickly as possible. I'll be checking them up in the next couple of days, just before Christmas. I'm going to try and get them up tonight, but we'll see how many of these we actually get done and how much I can actually pull it all together. I'm just dying. Yeah, we're going away for Christmas to see family because we live like 4 hours away from them. So we're going to be driving down to go and see the fam, as the kids would say. Yes, that'll be nice. You doing anything interesting for the Yule period? You're going 10 minutes down the street. That's awesome. I wish we could go 10 minutes down the street. Having to travel all the time to like see friends and family is very frustrating. Because inevitably it means you just don't end up seeing people, rather than like, you know, just it being more difficult. You also just end up not doing it because it like so much travel and time, and travel is exhausting. Which is a shame, because I actually really enjoy doing it. I used to long-haul drive all the time. So we drive down to Melbourne from Sydney, which is... if you do it the way I do it, it's like 10 hours of driving. So minimal stops and like driving through in a full day. The way you're actually supposed to do it is taking breaks every 2 hours. Which means it takes like 14 hours to get there. But who wants to do that? Who wants to be safe? Ugh. I'm glad it's school holidays now, so I don't have to be teaching, because that's endlessly also frustrating. Still waiting to hear back about the tattoo apprenticeship. So hopefully we hear back before the new year, because we're supposed to be, or at least they said they wanted to be starting in the new year. We haven't heard anything yet, so we might need to poke. Which is what all the people say when they talk about getting apprenticeships or getting jobs. They're like, yeah, you know, you need to poke the people. But as a slightly socially anxious millennial, that's not something that I particularly want to do with my time or life. Henry? Yeah? Why are you licking the couch, you weirdo? Do you have big plans for the Christmas Yule tide period? And are you doing anything interesting for the solstice? Given that it's a spiritually significant day. I spent the morning running around getting last-minute Christmas things done. Artworks and wrapping presents and going and buying presents. I had a couple of artworks that I went to get professionally printed, so I had to go and pick those up. And they turned out really nice. I was very happy with them. So I think they will be lovely presents. One of which is for me, so. And then I came back and did my usual ritual thing for the solstice. So we lit a lovely bonfire, which is slightly illegal in our part of the world at this time of year. What with the super high risk of bushfires. But I kept it fairly well contained and looked after it. And while I was doing that, we did our usual ritualing, and then I baked us honey cake and some muffins. Only a risk if the fire risk is up. Unfortunately, technically, it's still illegal in our area, regardless of whether or not the fire risk is high or not, because in summer, it just is illegal. I think it's okay because I've got a brazier, and it's not just an open fire. Technically, it's considered a fire pit. But if it wasn't, and depending on what the fireys would say out here, which, given that it's a fairly open brazier, I'm not sure that they would be super happy with it. It's not allowed at this point in the year. Which I understand, you know, that's no grudges there. But it does make some things harder. Limits what we can do. No, you were going to stream to provide space for people that are having a bad holiday. That's lovely. But you've been really struggling with low spirituality, so you don't know if you have it in you. That's totally fair. You probably just play World of Warcraft while you pretend that your sister-in-law doesn't exist. Fair. Yep. I usually try and pretend that my sister-in-law doesn't exist. My partner also tries to pretend that her sister doesn't exist. So I think that's fair. But yeah, no, that's good. If you had the spoons to do so, holding space for others on this time of year, or at least just sort of checking up on them at all, is super important. But only if you do have the spoons to do so. Putting yourself out there when you don't have the spoons is, while admirable in terms of like doing things for others, it's super important to self-care. We're very big on self-care in this little community of ours. And the Christmas period itself is like super difficult for a lot of people. And making sure that you look after yourself is like one of the big things that I advocate for at this time of year. Because if you don't look after yourself, then you can't look after anybody else either. So even if you want to, do that nice thing of holding space and of providing support for people who need it, if you aren't supporting yourself, then you won't be able to support others. So self-care, super important. But yeah, I totally feel that of like wanting to do all the things, wanting to have a space to help and look after people and do all the spiritual stuff, and then just not having the spoons to actually fulfill that. That's like most of my that's most of my life. It's also most of my like streams. I have these big plans of things that I want to do, and then inevitably it ends up that I like do maybe half of them, just because I don't have the spoons to do everything. Too drained to even get up in the morning most days. Yeah. Luckily, I'm not that bad. I have been in the past, but I'm not that bad at the moment. Thankfully. But yeah, I feel that. I get it. It's rough. But kudos for making it out of bed. Kudos for making it onto Twitch at all. You have done an achievement today for sure, making it this far. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. That's always been one of the things I've noticed in like the witchy spiritual circles. There's a really big sort of contention, I guess, between the people who have the ability to just do all the things, and their view of like how spirituality is supposed to work. So like your dedication to gods or your dedication to the high days and all that kind of stuff, and that, you know, you have to do something for each day and you have to do X, Y, and Z, and you know, there has to be certain number of offerings and they have to be of certain value and blah 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 blah, whatever. Versus the people who have like anxiety or depression or ADHD or whatever, and they're just like, yeah, my spirituality is essentially just what I can manage on the day. And I think that's like super important to recognize that is also incredibly valid and basically how it was done back in the day. Like traditionally, historically, you did what you could when you could, and you called on, you know, the gods or the spirits or your ancestors or whatever when you needed them. It wasn't like you go and, you know, do the high day thing every single high day or like every single moon cycle. You did what you could when you could, and that was considered good enough, like good for the lay person, unless you were a priestess or a priest or a shaman, or like if you were particularly engaged. Otherwise, you weren't expected to do all the things because you're a busy person, you know, tending farms and working and, you know, doing all the other things. It was the job of the spiritual person in the group to look after it. I am ashamed. Yeah. Well, that's it. So, for me in particular, I do follow all the high days. I do make sure that I do something for every moon cycle. I make sure that I do things for my community and I do things for my family and stuff. Like I make sure that, you know, they're involved in the days, even if it's they can't do anything. So, like for example, today, Lizzie did manage to do some things in the end for herself, but when she came home from work, she was super tired. So I involved her in the ritual that I was doing via basically bringing things to her on the couch while I did them at the fire outside, and then sort of brought them to her afterwards. Because it's my job as the sort of spiritual head of the household to do the things. And all her job entails is just being available to interact with the thing as it's happening. And that's all I would expect from her. I wouldn't expect her to, you know, have to come out and engage and, you know, get all dressed up or whatever. If she wants to, that's amazing. But I would never expect it of her, because she works and because she's, you know, she's got ADHD and she can't always be, you know, socially engaged or spiritually engaged like that, and that's perfectly fine and reasonable. If I wasn't in her life, she would probably do her spirituality very differently, because she wouldn't have someone to sort of lean on in that capacity, and that would be perfectly valid and reasonable. It's important that I make, for myself at least, it's important that I make the effort, because I have taken on the role of being, you know, a spiritual leader and a spiritual advisor in my community and my group, and my family, and it's something that, you know, is deeply connected with who I am. But I would never expect that of someone else, of like a lay person, or of even of another like spiritually minded or spiritual advisor type person. you know, do what you can when you can. That is valid and reasonable. It's also historically accurate, so if you wanted to, you know, keep and connect with that as the idea of how you practice, yeah, absolutely go for it. But I have seen a lot of people be like, no, you gotta, like, you know, leave an offering every single moon cycle, or like every full moon you have to put moon water out or whatever. I'm like, no, don't be ridiculous. Do what you can when you can, that's good enough. None of this gatekeepy bullshit. Sometimes gatekeeping is not necessarily a bad thing, but I think it needs to be a very particular sort of gatekeeping, and it would tend to be, at least in my case, only if someone was doing something actually wrong, and by that I mean like excluding someone based on incorrect information from practicing a certain thing, or doing something in a way that was, you know, detrimental to themselves or other people, and it had no basis in the thing that they were actually practicing. At that point, I would probably step in and be like, you know, that's not actually accurate, and you don't need to do that. And if you want to be part of my spiritual community, we don't do it this way, kind of thing. None of this gatekeeping. Oh, sometimes. Well, none of this gatekeeping in that particular sense. Like, I am not someone who gatekeeps, you know, the amount of engagement you have to have. I don't think that's reasonable at all. And it's not something that I support in any capacity, because like it doesn't make sense on any face of it. Like, it's not historically accurate. It's not accurate in terms of like the way contemporary practice even is, and it's not something that we want to encourage in our spiritual circles. So like, there's no point at which that would be a thing that I would be like in support of, and it in itself is kind of a form of gatekeeping anyway, but it's something that I would kind of gatekeep out of my community. If someone wanted to act like that, I'd be like, no, like you don't get to do that here. You don't get to tell other people how to practice and how much they need to practice to be part of the group. Yeah, most of my gatekeeping is like actually anti-gatekeeping, ironically. So another good example is like people who practice Celtic or Norse paganism, and there are groups who are like, oh well, you know, cultural appropriation, blah blah blah. You can't do it if you're black or from another culture, Indian, Asian, etc. And like, no, that's not a thing we do. Obviously, you know, be respectful and do it properly and actually do the research and stuff, but like, we don't gatekeep racially. There are certain practices within Norse paganism or Celtic paganism that you would need to be initiated from someone who is actually like practicing and has been, or has a lineage, but as in a initiation lineage, not a blood lineage. But just on the face of it, like, I wouldn't close off practice to someone just because of their race. That's stupid and shitty. And anyway, is this my rant for the night? Okay, battle time. Oh, that's a raccoon. Here we go. For those who are interested, we do our little stream readers thing. So if you're keen to join on that, you can do so in the next battle, but we are doing our little battle now. We've got a few people, 5 people in. Oh, we've had a few deaths. Not doing amazingly. Oh. Nah, we lost. Boom, boom, boom. Alright, let's try that one again. Rant time. Found family. Okay. I mean, you're not supposed to suggest the topic for rant time. It's actually supposed to just be me ranting about a topic, like any topic. But we can rant about found family if you like. Yeah, found family is super important. I think, honestly, I would say, and this sort of goes against how I was brought up, but found family is actually probably more important than your teach you. Found family is probably more than your more important than your actual family. And so this is there's a I forget what they're specifically called, but there's a whole bunch of sayings. We discussed some of these on stream previously, and they're like idioms or yeah, basically it's like an idiom or a saying that's like has some sort of importance, and one of them that's super commonly used is like blood is thicker than water, and the reasons why these sayings are super important, or sort of get used so often is because people try and sort of say that a particular thing is a universal truth. For example, we had the argument about jack of all trades in a previous stream not too long ago that was also a slightly contentious stream. But the blood is thicker than water one, specifically, all of these sayings are essentially wrong, in quotes, because they get cut down, and blood is thicker than water is another good example of this. The full saying is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, and basically what that means is that the found family you have, the covenant that you make, and the people that you engaged with in your community are more important than the people that you are born to. That just because you are from a particular family or a particular lineage doesn't mean that that's the be-all and end-all of your life. Another good example for this for these sort of sayings being sort of molested, as it were, is curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back. The idea of these sayings usually is actually that, like, being a non-conformity type person is a good thing in society, and is something that you should encourage, like being curious or finding your family, finding your group of friends, and sticking with them. And then people came along and said, no, we don't want that. So then they changed it by cutting them in half, and basically getting rid of them. And getting rid of all the nuance from them, basically. And so the found family one is another important one in this, because that idea that who you're with, who you have thrown your lot in with, is more important than the family you grew up with. Because as much as the family you grew up with shaped who you are, and that's super important, and you shouldn't just like disregard them out of hand for no reason. But you know, just because you grew up with them doesn't mean that they weren't like terrible people. Often, the people that we know tend to be the ones that end up causing the most harm to us. A lot of assaults in various different forms come from people you know. A lot of abuse comes from within families or within love hurts. Yeah. Whether it's well intentioned, and they are actually trying to love, or whether or not they don't actually love and they're just doing it because they want to control you, is also a thing. Because that is entirely a thing. And sometimes it's not out of love, and sometimes it is out of love. Like, there are lots of good examples of like family members being shitty and abusive because they think the best way to keep someone safe, or to keep someone like right with society or with God or with whatever, is to sort of like force them to be a particular way, or punish them for doing something that they think is wrong. But you know, that might just be who the person is, and they sort of can't help, you know, doing the things that they're doing, or that they, you know, they want to live their own life and make their own decisions, and that should be right and reasonable to do. But unfortunately, you know, these people have been brought up in different times, or they just have different views in the world, and reconciling that can be quite difficult. It can be from a place of care, like honest care. It's just, it still is abuse. And that's not to say that, you know, to limit that abuse at all. It is still abuse, and it is still wrong in any capacity, even if it was done with the best of intentions. But that's a thing. So like, family can do that, and they're often the ones that are most abusive to people, because they have the capacity, they have the time, so the opportunity is there and the means is there, and so often it ends up being them who do it, which is not great. And it happens a lot more than we probably would want to admit. So then finding your family, having your found family, is a super important thing to do. We're social animals. We can't live on our own. We can't live devoid of contact with others. Studies have been done, and solitary confinement is a form of punishment and torture for a reason, because as social animals, it literally destroys our brain to like not be around other people. It can cause serious detriment and harm to people, to disconnect them from the people around them. So it's super important that you don't end up disconnected. And one of the ways you do that is by finding a community that cares for you, has your best interest at heart, who will follow along with your wants and needs, and you know, try to fulfill them to the best of their abilities, and also provides you the opportunity to do so in return, because that's another big thing of humans in general, is that we're very reciprocal social creatures. It's quite rare for someone to not want that reciprocation in a relationship. We get as much joy from giving to people as we do from receiving from people, gifts and assistance and stuff like that. It actually helps us to help others, and studies have shown that time and time again. So, you know, if you can find your family, do so. It's easier said than done often, because societies are tricky things to navigate, and working out A, who you are, and then B, how that fits in a broader social circle is difficult. It's not something that everybody can do straight away. It requires a lot of self-reflection, which, you know, we're not very good at these days. But if you can do so, absolutely you should. We usually do what's called orphan Christmases, or orphan days, for our spiritual days. Basically, that's if anybody else doesn't have the means to engage with you know, their people, if they don't have a family that accepts them, or if they don't have the means to be able to be with friends or family or whatever, then we will open space for others to join us, which is super important. Where we parade orphans through the street and laugh at them for their lack of abusive parental figures. I mean, the problem is that even like orphan and fostered people tend to come across abusive people, ending up being that's kind of the reason why they end up in those situations in the first place, which is very sad, because they've gone through abuse, or because, you know, anyway. I know I'm kind of ruining the joke there, but like, it is an important point to bring up. Yeah, I don't know what else you want me to teach you about found families, other than that it's important and that there's a social precedent in terms of an idiom that exists. Apologies. What is found family to me personally? As in the idea of found family, or as in my found family? Cause I would say, sort of ironically, I guess, that my found family actually does include my own family. Lizzie Bell, I would consider to be like a found family, someone who I can socially engage with, and she's my best friend, and then also my partner, and we have built a family together. And then also, like, my extended group of friends are all, like, people... All of the above. Okay. Ranting away. Yeah, so found family, wife, a partner is found. You didn't start with them, they're found, yeah. So they're not a member of my family, but, to begin with, but definitely are now. And that's super important. But also it's very important because, like, I've had lots of partners who I wouldn't have considered strongly to be, like, found family, because as much as, you know, I cared for deeply about them and I love them, they weren't supportive in the way that I would consider a found family to be. To me, a found family is specifically a group who understands, recognizes, and supports you. Treats you in the way that a family traditionally is supposed to. And, you know, that's not always the case, but I think it is an important part of the kind of equation that, like, if the group isn't supporting you, then they're definitely not. Please don't start with your partner. That's some Alabama shit right there. Some Tasmanian wreath of a family tree. Perfect circle. Yeah, so like if your friends or your partner or whatever are not like supportive of you enough, then I wouldn't have considered them found family. I think part of found family is specifically that like they are supportive and assistive without you having to like go out of your way to ask, or without you having to go out of your way to like earn it, in quotes. And I've been with quite a few partners. I had quite a few very abusive partners in the past. We've talked about this on stream previously. And that's an important thing, because it's like they weren't the ideal for me, but I was kind of with them because I thought that was, you know, the right thing to do, or because I cared about them, and so I wanted to be around them. But they weren't the found family I was looking for. They weren't the people that were going to support me through, you know, whatever I needed supporting through. And so in the end, they sort of weren't worth keeping around and putting the effort and energy into, which I've always found to be the point of the found family, is like you come across this group of people, or you know, an individual person or whatever who does for you all the things that a family would traditionally do. Be supportive, have your back, in like basically every situation. Be able to call you out on things and like be like, hey, you know, this, you're wrong about this, or like stop you from doing something that would be detrimental or inappropriate, or, you know, whatever, like that as well. Not just always support you 100% in everything you do, but like support you in a sense of like honest, for your benefit and for the benefit of everybody around you, kind of thing, which is rare. Like that's a hard thing to find in people, especially with like no expectation of return for that, which is like part of the idea of like the family aspect of that it's supposed to be unconditional, that they're supposed to just, you know, care about you and look after you, and obviously it's not, you know, the perfect thing. That's not always going to be the case, and, you know, we can't expect that of everyone at all points in time, but that's sort of the ideal. That's what I would look for, or I would expect from a found family. I would say that our little stream community is a pretty good found family. They do struggle at times to, you know, be consistent with things, and we you know, clash heads and that kind of stuff, but we do a pretty good job of it. Makes me happy. Isn't expecting unconditional support a condition? No, because specifically the idea that that they are providing the support of their own volition, and that's what the sort of, Henry, stop licking the couch, you idiot. That's what puts them into that category. You're not asking for and expecting it of them. You're not telling them that that's what they need to do. They're doing it of their own volition, which would be the sort of the distinction there, that like they're doing it because they want to, and then that puts them in a category that is familial, because that's what a family should be doing for family members. Very hardly clash heads out of silly debates about magic and morality. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there are periods and times in which we do sort of clash a bit more. But sort of the wider group, not necessarily just you and me. I think you and me tend to be on the same page about most things most of the time. But like that's an important distinction, that like the wider group as well is also part of that. Part of that thing, and assisting or being the family member to the entire group is also going to end up with situations in which you sort of butt heads with one person for the betterment of the entire group or something like that. Can't think of a good example necessarily, but yeah, like having an argument or a real disagreement so that you can help out the whole group, I think is sort of that's what would make a familial bond there. But that's more difficult. In our 4 years, I can count less than 5 real disagreements that we had that weren't trivial. You enjoy talking with me about trivial things because it challenges you and makes you think harder and humbles you when you get cocky. Yeah. Which is good. That's what we need. It's also good to get like different perspectives on things. We've all led not super different lives, but different lives, and so having that difference is important, and has been super useful. Is that so, Henry? Yeah, I've always said that like a pretty good test of like how strong your friendship is if you haven't talked in, you know, like a month or a few weeks, and then you can pick up immediately where you left off. Or if there's something difficult that happens, something that like would be friendship breaking normally, and you're able to very easily, or at least fairly uneventfully, talk it out, and then sort of brush it off afterwards, and it doesn't become like a long-term grudge that ends up being held, which is difficult because like there are lots of people who just don't have that capacity, who just can't. But that's sort of my version of the found family thing. I know there definitely would be other people who would be like, no, that's not found family for me. Found family for me is just like, you know, always being there 24/7 kind of thing. Like always being around, always being available, and always like engaging kind of thing. Whereas I'm like, I could happily have someone, and I do have friends that are like, I won't talk to for like a month, and I feel kind of bad about not engaging with them as much. But as soon as we do talk again, it's like nothing has changed. We like the time is immediately caught up within, you know, 20 minutes or an hour, and we're back again exactly where we were. That's a super important thing for me, at least. And I think that's probably partly my semi-diagnosed ADHD. That like, not that I forget people exist, but like it's the out of sight, out of mind thing. I heard I follow a TikToker who is autistic, and he's got ADHD, and he kind of like makes content that's sort of trying to explain what it's like to be neurodivergent to non-neurodivergent people, and And, like, some of the stuff he says is really good, and then other things I'm like, yeah, that's just, it's not my experience of the world as a neurodivergent person. And then also, like, it seems slightly semantic and pedantic, the argument you're trying to make, which is something that happens a lot with people who are neurodivergent, is like, the semantics of the argument is almost more important than the actual argument itself, like the essence of the argument itself. Like, arguing over the term and what the term means ends up being the bulk of the argument, and then the actual point is something that, like, both parties actually agreed on the whole time. It's just that the way it was being explained was the issue all along. And one of his things is, like, it's not object permanence that we have an issue with. It's like, we just have a different value system of, like, engaging with things or whatever. But I honestly think it is actually, like, an object permanence thing, that, like, if I'm not thinking about it, I can entirely forget that a thing exists until I see it again, or until I interact with it again, and then I'm like, oh shit, yeah, that's a thing. Like, oh shit, yeah, this friend exists. Like, if I see a post from them on Facebook, and I'm like, oh fuck, that I haven't talked to them in a full year, and we used to hang out literally every single day, and then we would talk, like, I'd send them a message, or we'd like catch up and see each other, and it would be as if we never stopped talking. Like, the connection in the friendship hasn't lessened at all, at least, you know, from my feeling or experience. They might be annoyed as shit about it, but and that's kind of my experience with it, that, like, the found family thing is like it should be not non-judgmental, but, like, supportive in that particular kind of way, and then an environment of, like, familial bond. You think that time gap also depends a little on how and why it happens too, though, because there can be people who abandon and then come back into the life when it's convenient and repeat the pattern, and that's not okay. Yeah, if it's a convenience thing, like, that's shitty. If you're not being around them because the other person is, like, difficult, in quotes. So, like, an example would be someone gets sick, or they're going through, like, a mental health crisis, and if you stop talking to them for that reason and then start talking to them again once, you know, they're feeling better and they're not talking about those sorts of things again, that's super shitty. That's not what I'm talking about. But it's just like, so I live 4 hours away from, like, even my closest friends, as in distance closeness, and there's times when you're like, because I don't see them, because I'm not physically around them, like, I just won't message them for like a month, and, like, I feel bad that I don't do it, but you know, I just don't think about it. Like, it just doesn't come up in my mind. Not that I don't care about them, because I care about them super deeply. I would basically kill for these people. But my brain doesn't work that way, basically. If they're not around, yeah, object impermanence, exactly. If they're not around, I can't remember to, like, message them, essentially, which is really bad. I used to have like a message or a spreadsheet, to be like, oh yeah, these are the important people in my life. I should talk to them at some point. Basically kill. Oh, you completely kill for me, buddy? Oh, thanks. I mean, that's a tricky one, because, like, now I have... Previously, it would have been absolutely, like, hands down, immediately. But, like, now that I have a family, they have to kind of come first in most situations. So I can't just, like, up and murder someone and then end up in prison. Complexly. Complexly kill? How would you complexly kill? Thanks for the follow, Cog. Welcome to the most boring stream ever. You provide no music or cam. You do other things until some major issues comes in and talks to you. Fair enough. Sounds like an interesting. Stream. I'm gonna have to check it out. Read American Psycho and you'll get some ideas. Fair enough. So I need to, like, starve a rat, and then put it in a bucket up against someone's chest. Is that what we're suggesting? It is battle time. We've got less people than last time, so I'm not liking our chances. Let's see how we go. That's 2 down. Oh, I'm down. 3 left. One to go. Oh, and we lost. Once again. That's alright, we're getting little somethings each time, so we'll keep going, we'll try again. This will probably be the last battle of the night, as it's 11 o'clock, and we're probably going to raid out after we have finished this. Alright, get to it. Oh, that looks adorable. Alright, so we'll make one more background layer. We'll merge these 2 layers together. I'm thinking another black background, but we'll see how it goes. Something like that. Actually, if we go with a solid black, and then we'll put another color in behind it to balance it out. I think this is the cutoff down the bottom here. There-ish. What are we thinking? Purple? maybe a few different colors. Kind of almost a galaxy-esque. Da-da-da-da-da. I have taught you a valuable lesson in judgment. You usually assume that people with face tattoos are angry and that you need to steer clear to protect yourself. Did I get them in an angrier period of my life, or are you just way off? So these aren't face tattoos. These are part of my spiritual practice. It's just paint. I usually use ash or paint on my face for spiritual reasons. They're part of my Celtic heritage. So my particular druidic initiation was to a group that works with like the sun and the moon specifically, and so I have two facial patterns that I use. One side is moon and the other side is sun. And so they're supposed to represent that. So if you can see, this is the sun design, so it basically goes down and up on this side, and then on the other side I have this kind of curve pattern which comes across, and it basically curves around the whole eye. That's supposed to represent the moon. I would get facial tattoos, not right now, because as a teacher I can't, but one day that is a potential thing that I could get. I am hesitant to get facial tattoos, mainly just because it is a judgment thing, that other people would judge me based on what the tattoos are, and I wouldn't want to have to constantly explain what they meant. But I'm not against them as a thing. I don't think that they're necessarily a bad thing. I understand the idea of, like, it's a marker that shows that someone potentially might have had a dangerous past, but I don't think that judging based purely on that is always fair. But I also wouldn't say someone was bad for judging someone based on things like that. Like, there's a reason why, stereotypes exist and things like that. You shouldn't base everything about a person based on that. But there is also an aspect of, like, there is a consistency in these things. Like, people with face tattoos tend to be a little bit more aggressive, or they tend to have, had a darker past, or something like that. So, yeah, a long answer, no, they're not facial tattoos. I'm not a dangerous person, but yeah, these are things that I would wear out pretty regularly or pretty comfortably. So, yeah, it's a reasonable thing to say not to judge based on that. But then also, like, if it keeps you safe, yeah, I don't know, it's a tricky one. Yeah, so that's a thing. As a tattoo artist, I would be hesitant to tattoo someone's face if they didn't already have a lot of other tattoos. And what Cog says is not wrong. In the wrong circles, someone might take a facial tattoo to represent being part of a gang. And gang warfare is a thing. People do attack one another because of those signs and symbols and things. So that's something to be aware of when you're getting it. The other side of it is that usually facial tattoos are earned. So you usually have a tattoo as a marker of you did a particular thing and then earned that mark on your body. A lot of traditional tattoos, a lot of tattoos from indigenous communities or from like subculture groups tend to be based in, like, earned practices. So you get a tattoo when you have done a particular thing, or you have reached a particular pinnacle of like social status or community membership, and it's a good signifier, but also it can be dangerous to wear the wrong symbol in the wrong place. So, yeah. Tattoos are really interesting. judgment and social engineering is super interesting as a topic. These are all fascinating subjects. I am myself going to be a tattoo artist, training to be a tattoo artist. Yeah, I think there is a level of I don't know, unfair judgment, I guess, with tattoos. But I understand why it exists given their history, specifically, and then also given like what kind of people tend to get certain types of tattoos. There is often discussions in these ideas of like, you shouldn't judge people ever. Misunderstands the morality versus reality argument. Yes, not judging anybody and making sure that you act in a way that is purely individual is important, and that's morally a good thing to do. But there is also the aspect of like, you got to keep yourself safe, and you can't always ensure that someone else has your best interest at heart. And so the way that we ensure that we don't fall into traps of people, being dangerous or whatever, is that we essentially stereotype, that we judge based on data sets that we have collected, whether they be real or imagined, which can lead to some quite bad things, like it leads to racism, for example, or it leads to assuming that like all people with face tattoos are going to be dangerous, and you end up avoiding some people who would be really awesome to hang out with and talk to, but at the same time, like, you have to look after yourself, so that's the thing. A lot of people get tattoos in all kinds of places, either because they think they're cool or for positive reasons, but the judgment isn't completely unfair, as there are a lot of people that have them out of frustration or rebellious energy. Apologies. You love tattooed men, but face seems like a different ballgame. Yeah, I understand that. I recognize that as a thing. And like, it's also a reasonable argument to make, because socially it is a different sort of thing. Like, especially these days, most workplaces are pretty fine with you having tattoos, with a few notable exceptions. And face tattoos, and neck and hand tattoos tend to be that exception. That having a face or a neck or a hand tattoo is a pretty sure sign that like you're a less stable and trustworthy person, which is like a really harsh thing to say about someone. Especially if you don't know for sure that it's true. Like, that it's a pretty big assumption to make about someone. Unfortunately, often not wrong. But But it is a big assumption to make, and you can end up like doing yourself a disservice or doing someone else a disservice by assuming that. So it's a tricky thing. Judgments are tricky things. I should apologize. I was banned from COVID and did it anyway. Hey, look, I tried so hard not to get COVID. I really did. Like we managed to survive traveling overseas and not getting COVID. I managed to go the whole pandemic with kids who were literally licking tables to try and give themselves COVID as a joke. And I managed to avoid catching it at that point. And then I freaking get it at a bar, at a gig. I blame Lizzie Bell. I don't actually blame Lizzie Bell. I'm just being silly. Coming up pretty well. I think we're almost done with this one. But yeah, once I officially become a tattoo artist and I'm not a teacher anymore, I would actually probably consider face tattoos more seriously as a thing. So I said for the longest time that I wouldn't get hand tattoos, and I do actually currently have a hand tattoo. You barely can see it, but I have 8 dots in a ring, and I got it for spiritual reasons. So I'm comfortable with having it now. But for the longest time I was like, oh, you know, I can't get them for teaching because I try and cover them up. I do have my whole arms done, but I wear long sleeves all the time, even in the middle of summer, so that the kids can't see, and more importantly, the staff and parents can't see the tattoos that I have, because that would be unprofessional, in quotes. But apologies. Is that done? I think that's done. Sweet. Now, are we happy with this background as it is? I think we need to just get rid of some of this at the top here. Hey, that's looking pretty good. Much better. Okay. So merge that down, keep that. Background, done. Foreground, done. Cool. Let's get rid of that. And then last one, merry happy time of year. So this one's gonna be like pretty dreary, I think. It's gonna be all greys, just because it'll be funny. But yeah, so like hand tattoos and face tattoos and stuff, like something that I've considered. And going into a tattoo career, it's a little bit more reasonable for me to be more visibly tattooed. And I think it is something that I would consider doing in the long run. But they would have to be very special tattoos, I think. I would have to be very comfortable and happy wearing them, because I know that it would immediately be the first thing that people see and judge me based on. So it would be important that is something that I would be comfortable with being immediately associated with. But yeah, I would consider getting smaller, more subtle versions of what I've currently got on my face. I would have to be quite significantly more heavily tattooed than I currently am, I think, for me to be able to justify it to other people. But yeah, that's a thing I would consider. Because I wear it often enough. I've been working on the wrong fucking layer. Ugh. Here we go. On the right layer. Yeah, I wore these at my the full version at my wedding. We had a pagan, semi-pagan wedding. So I had my war paint on. And so it's a very important part of my life, and something that a lot of people who know me would already have experienced and would have like an understanding of that is part of who I am, like that particular image. Hello. Hello. Did you forget to put your clothes in the wash?
Yeah, I did.
Well, if you put them in, I'll put them in the dryer.
I appreciate it.
I was actually going to put them in earlier,
What?
and then forgot and went and made dinner instead.
Yeah. I also was going to put them in earlier and then forgot. I'm good at this.
We are so good at this. That's Lizzie Bell in the background. Getting ready for work tomorrow. And this is as close as I'm getting to work for a little while now. Until school starts back up again. Cheers. Nice. Or dancing. Just vibing, love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or vibing with my loaf. We were discussing face tattoos.
Is it because your face is painted?
Yep.
People think you had tattoos?
Yep. And whether or not it's reasonable to judge someone who is heavily tattooed.
Yeah.
And then also just whether or not I would get a face tattoo, given that.
I feel like the answer to both of those questions is no.
At the moment, it's definitely no to face tattoos. But I would consider it eventually. Once I'm a tattoo artist and once I'm not having to teach or I'm not having to be,
What would you get
professional,
on your face?
presentable. Something like this, but very subtle. Like small there and there. It would have to be like
My parents
your parents
have
would.
a fucking fit.
Yes, they would. For those who don't know, Lizzie Bell's parents are pastors. They're Italian.
They're very religious.
Boom, boom.
They're missionaries.
They're missionaries. They're super religious, evangelical Christians, which is a little ironic because we're not.
I mean, being raised in that environment, you either go all in or go all out.
Yeah.
There is no in between.
There's no happy middle. It's either...
It's traumatic, and it's trauma response to either be all in or just reject it entirely.
Yep. And it's a pretty common response. If you're from a very particularly religious household, you either lean into it or you lean very far out of it. Which I think is reasonable.
You're reasonable.
You're reasonable.
I'm sleepy, bro. These dogs.
Go and yell them. We have nothing against Christians in general in this chat.
No, I just have some trauma response to the specific church I grew up in.
And I particularly have some quite strong views about certain Christian doctrine and certain Christian churches. And how certain things are run as a theology student, as someone who has studied religion and religious texts at a university level. There are some things that I think are, incorrect practice in terms of spiritual teaching. And then there's also some things that are just like bad practice in terms of morals and ethics. And that's sort of like a separate discussion of like people who are bad Christians or who are abusive Christians are not good in my books. I don't like those sorts of people. But then I also don't like people who misconstrue the text to try and sell their agenda, which is often making money off other people. So like prosperity gospel is a good example of this. You have to twist the text pretty hard to end up at something like prosperity gospel. And it can be dangerous to people. It's dangerous to a lot of people who hear that from a religious leader, from a person of authority in their life, and then take it wholesale and run with it, and then end up very much worse off because of it. So yeah, that's my issue with forms of Christianity, I guess. So if you are a Christian in the chat, or you are from a particularly Christian household or whatever, don't feel like you're not welcome here. You are very welcome to be here, as long as you are not pushing that on anybody else. Then we're perfectly fine. Perfectly happy to have Christian brethren around. Yeah, some of my best friends are very strongly Christian. But it's a mutual respect thing. They respect my spirituality, I respect their spirituality. Then we just move on to a different topic, usually. We do have some interesting, religious debates sometimes. But it usually comes at it from my experience as a biblical scholar, and their experience as a lay practitioner, someone who has experienced what their church has said, or what the practice has been in reality, as opposed to me looking at the historical basis for what that text says, or what the interpretation was, or still is, or how it's changed over time or whatever. those are often fascinating discussions. Because there's things in the Bible that are anti-tattoo, for example, which is a very interesting one to come up against, especially in modern churches, because so many young people want to be tattooed these days. And there are so many latecomers to religious traditions as well, that have been tattooed formally in life, and then come to, you know, the church, or come to a religious tradition, and then have to reconcile having the tattoo versus like what the text says about that, and what they're supposed to do about that as a thing. So it's interesting. Hope people are enjoying my my chill jazz mixes. Sort of electro jazz. Modern jazz. Less than a minute until our raid battle starts up again. So get your last lot of units in. Probably going to be the last fight for the night, and then we'll just sit and chat for a bit before we end up raiding out. If anybody knows someone in particular that we should raid into, we can't raid into the Cognitive Beard, unfortunately, because he is not himself streaming. And I can't raid into myself, unfortunately. But if you know someone who is a good candidate for a raid, please do let us know. The battle is about to begin. Oh, that cleaned up nicely. That's a little better. Okay, where are we? Web page. We've got a few more people this time. Very good. Looks like there's less enemies as well. I think each time it's giving us less enemies because it feels bad for us. Hey, we finally won that one. Okay, so we're gonna finish the fighting here for the night, and we'll just sit and have some chats. As we finish off, upgrade our monk, and we'll come back to this next time. See if we can finish it from here. We're going to be on like one of the hardest battles, unfortunately. So I don't know if we're actually going to be able to win, but we'll see how we go. So let's close out of that. And then we'll just finish up here. I'll quickly check in Twitch. See who's currently streaming. Oh, we've got Ari doing Sea of Thieves. We've got Firelight Chaos doing Sea of Thieves. So I'm probably gonna stream it raid into Firelight Chaos. Census Taker doing some art. Steve Preston doing some art as well. Genator. Absinthe. All good options. Lots of fun, good options. So we'll see how we go. Probably just gonna read into Firelight Chaos though. So we'll see how we feel about that in a minute once we've finished this off. This is looking pretty good. I'm liking the quite minimalist effort aesthetic here. So all of these cards are supposed to be like snarky, slightly shitty things that you can give to someone that you know, don't actually like all that much. Someone that kind of like rubs you the wrong way. Or just, you know, friends who have a similar sense of humor to you. And therefore us. The story behind this particular one was someone kept trying to get Lizzie Bell to say Merry Christmas. And obviously she was like, you know, it's not just Christmas. There is more than just Christians in the world. And so Merry Happy Time of Year was born. And I just think that's such a great sassy response. Just so perfect. As a like passive aggressive FU to the you know, it's a war on Christmas, blah 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 type people. Because inevitably those are the people who just try and push the fact that they want, you know, Jesus back in Christmas as a thing, when the roots of Christmas are not Christian at all. So I very much appreciate the snarky passive aggressiveness of it. So that's how this whole project started. Actually, I wanted to make a merry, happy time of year Christmas card specifically for Lizzie Bell, and then I was like, oh fuck it, why don't I just make like a bunch of these different sassy cards, and they've worked out quite well actually. Hope everybody's enjoying them. This song on this playlist always reminds me of Burning Man. I think it's because there's a couple of, I mean, the song is very much the same sort of vibe as most of the stuff that plays at Burning Man, very sort of house, trancey type stuff, electronica. But there's a particular set of like Burning Man in 24 hours type deals on YouTube that I used to watch a bunch of, and still do occasionally if I want to, like, you know, remember what a particular time was like. Be like, oh yeah, I remember seeing that, or oh yeah, I remember, you know, when that happened, kind of thing. But yeah, this kind of song plays in the background. Also, just because it is actually at Burning Man, and so that's the kind of music that's playing. But also as like background music to the video. So I always get that vibe. The last thing we put in here is like a little bench. Okay. That's looking pretty good, and then we'll fix up this text, and I think we're done. Can finally relax. I would say go to bed, but I have a few things that I need to get done before I go to bed, unfortunately. One of which is waiting for the dryer to finish. Because I am the house husband, so it's my job to look after these sorts of things, which is good. I'm happy about that. Nothing makes me happier than being a house husband to my beautiful wife. Hope everybody is having a wonderful day, slash evening, slash morning, slash whatever it is for you. Hope your solstice is going well. Remember, you only have to put in as much effort as you have available. if all you can muster today is acknowledging that it's the solstice, then that is good enough. Don't push yourself too hard. If you particularly feel like you should have made an offering and you don't have the spoons to do so, you can always ask someone else to make an offering for you on your behalf. If you ask particularly nicely, I'm sure I could muster something. Just barely mustering the energy to be awake. Yeah, true. However, I can. We should raid into the new one artist. I already said that I can't raid into myself. You missed it, Cog. You're late. I also said that we should raid into you, but that you weren't streaming. And then I said that you should stream, so that I could raid into you. But yeah, I am barely mustering the energy to be awake right now. This is true. But if people needed it, I am the spiritual leader of my community, so I would find the energy to. I could raid chaos. Yes, that's what I was thinking. I think Solstice talk would be lost on her, and found family talk she'd get though. Yeah, well, we'd do some found family talk then. Clearly. Who says you didn't elect me? I don't think it's a via election. Strange women in lakes giving out swords is no basis for an elected government. Help, I'm being oppressed. Monty Python. Solid. I'm gonna have to get better at my lettering. I mean, also, I'm probably gonna have to get better at, like, actually wanting to try at getting better at my lettering, for one. Because clearly I'm not really caring about this. But, for tattooing, I'm going to need to, get a little better. Because there are definitely people who are going to want just words in various different interesting calligraphy styles. So that's going to be something that I'm going to have to get better at. I can calligraphy a little at the moment, but I could always stand to be a bit better. getting there, we're getting there. Well, that don't look too bad. Once I've actually given the presents away, the artworks that I've been doing for family and friends, I'm gonna have to take pictures or something and put them up on Instagram so that everybody can see what I've been working on. Because I've been doing a lot of traditional painting, just like acrylics on canvas, and I did some digital work as well. But I would like to not show it off before the people whomst present it is gets to see it. I think it's important. Is this a reference to Home Alone? I don't believe so. Do they say this in Home Alone? It's been so long since I've watched Home Alone. Oh, the silhouette of a city. No. No, it's not. But that is an interesting comparison to make. I like it. That wasn't the inspiration. The one with Tim Curry. Yes. And Donald Trump? Is Donald Trump in that one? Limousine and a cheese pizza. Yeah, he is. Oh, so funny. So weird to think that he was the president of America. I'm just waiting for Kanye West, Ye West, to be the new president. Gives Kevin directions, yeah. That was a fever dream that we all shared. Unfortunately, I don't believe it was a fever dream that we all shared. I believe it was the reality that we're in. I'm so excited for when Kanye takes over America. It's gonna be amazing. After all, he is a genius. He's a lyrical genius or something. It's gonna be wild. Oh, we're so close. Yeah, almost done. Almost. Yeah, and then I think we raid Chaos. I think that's a good plan. I'm liking that as an idea. I'll then just crop these images and fix them all up and then start posting them places. I'll chuck them in the Discord. People can print them off, send them to friends and family and whatever else. No, it is far too late to do that. I apologize, Cog. You have already used up your custom artwork redemption for the evening. A chibi version of me that is tired from overworking myself is definitely an artwork I'm going to have to do at some point, but I will not do it this stream because I need to finish up. We need to raid out. We need to leave with our mentality intact, with our brains intact. You're proud of me, but you expect a chibi artist next time? Okay. I'll put it on the list. Put on the list of things to do. Self-care is important, absolutely. But I guess the irony is that if someone else had asked, not you, I probably would have probably would have done it because I'm an idiot. Oh. I need to pee badly. Alright, so things that are happening. Tomorrow we're probably going to be streaming something, probably Red Dead, but I don't know, we'll see where we're at, what's happening with Cog. Then next week is post Christmas things. We're not going to be around. I'm going to try and do some streams, some art streams from my new fancy tablet. But we'll see how that goes. So I can't guarantee there's going to be streams. I would like there to be streams. But we'll see how we manage that. I won't be at this computer. I won't be in area. So unfortunately, I won't be able to just stream like this if the tablet doesn't work. So unfortunately, there's a fair chance that there's going to be no streams next week. But we'll see how we go. I would very much like to stream for everyone. So we'll see. And then in terms of other things, check out all of the socials and stuff. I'll be posting art, I'll be posting other things over Christmas. And feel free to chuck in the Discord or chuck in the About Me section down below. There's a little suggestion box, or just DM me. Things that you would like to see for the new year. I'm pulling together a series of projects of things I want to do. Games I want to play, artworks I want to create, projects I want to do, things that I would like to do for the stream or specific stream events that I would like to do. So suggestions, anything that you can think of that you would like to see. You'd like to see me for the new year. Well, you can see me in the new year for sure. Yeah, so those sorts of things. If you can provide a suggestion of something you would actually like to watch and that you would engage with, do let me know, because that way you're more likely to engage with the channel, which helps me, but also helps you because you get the content you want. So yeah, let's do a little bit of back and forth, see what we can come up with. Okay, we're gonna raid out to Firelight Chaos because I desperately need to go to the bathroom. Heard little chibi raid thing is, oh, it's weird. Alright, let's make sure we've done that, and then we'll raid. Cool, the raid's been created. We're going to be back tomorrow with gaming stream with friends. So join us for that. Look out for that as a thing. So I'm bouncing around because I need to pee. Oh. If you are subscribed to me, you can copy and paste my little raidy-doo. It is like terrifying. It's a little child thing and it's standing up and I don't understand why. I like the VTuber model thing. I think it's cute, and I like that it like moves as she does. But I don't know. Anyway, no judgment. It's a vibe. I understand the vibe. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. We'll catch you tomorrow. See ya. Bye.
Gotta relax.